Welcome back. When it comes to great Aussie icons, it's hard to beat Bush outfitter R.M. Williams. Originally owned by the man himself, R.M. Williams has transferred hands a number of times over the years, finally ending up with one of R.M.'s good friends, Ken Cowley. Mr. Cowley, a great lover of all things Bush, has resurrected R.M. Williams as a brand, showing the company can do more than simply make a fantastic pair of boots. R.M. Williams is now more a lifestyle than a company, incorporating clothing and accessories with agribusiness and Outback magazine. Sky News business reporter Julia Wood met with R.M. Williams CEO Hamish Turner to find out more on this Aussie icon.
It's correct to say it's been challenging, probably the most challenging time in the last 10-20 years. But what is true is that brands that have some sustenance to them, that have a loyal following, tend to actually be able to ride out those challenging times. We're very fortunate at R.M. Williams that we've got a loyal following, and we've in fact traded very well over the last 18 months to 2 years. And I'm very pleased to say that the last financial year in fact was our largest year of turnover and our largest profit year. So in tough times, I think sometimes the quality does rise to the top. However, we've had to be very agile in how we've gone about our business, and we've also had to make sure that we develop new products in different areas to make sure that we keep that marketplace that we've secured.
And you've recently opened new stores in a range of regional areas. Were these areas that were previously satisfied by stockists?
Yeah, in the areas of regional Australia, we're very careful to make sure that the small businesses and those stockists that have been part of the business for so many, many years, we don't look to expand into those areas. It's areas where we see either a growing populace, particularly places you look at like Mackay, as a regional centre, it's gone through phenomenal growth. And the ability for us to then have our own store in those areas as well as the stockists normally sees both of us grow. In some of the other regional areas like Longreach, where we've had stockists in a small way before, it's very hard for a business to carry the whole R.M. Williams range. So we're quite selective about where we open. We're very conscious about the small businesses that are in and around what we do. You know, we have over 930 stockists in Australia. So we don't just look at a regional town or regional centre and say that'd be great. We look at a balanced approach, and in those areas that we've opened, it's been very successful and quite supportive to the other operators.
Well, in many ways, the R.M. Williams boot is as Australian as Vegemite, but obviously a lot easier for overseas consumers to stomach. Do you think that the brand's association with Australia boosts sales for you overseas?
We're a family-owned Australian company, 100% Australian-owned, and as we know with many brands and businesses in Australia, with investment from foreign companies, they're not 100% Australian anymore. We are, but probably we're as Australian as R.M. Williams. In terms of export, export's been great. We have 15 countries we export to, and in fact the fastest growing regions for us are New Zealand, as well as the Scandinavian countries, particularly Sweden. There's a different essence in terms of how the world sees Australia. What they do look for, particularly in footwear and apparel, is quality. The consumer market, where you've got large consumerism in underwear, T-shirts, all that type of business, the billabongs and the like, they have a very large platform they have to compete on, and many competitors. In a business like ours, where we handcraft our boots, is something that's unique only to 4 or 5 companies in the world. So particularly in Europe, we're seen as a prestige product. In places like New Zealand, the agricultural sector has pretty much taken us on as their brand. We make clothing for them that actually works in their everyday life.
And looking at R.M. Williams as a company and as a brand, it started off with R.M. simply making boots for his friends and relatives, and has now grown into a massive industry really for Australia. But it is still a private Australian company in the hands of one of R.M.'s very dear friends, Ken Cowley. What happens though for this next generation going forward for R.M. Williams?
In terms of Ken and his relationship with R.M., 2 great men, 2 men that were dear friends, and for 35 years probably shared a relationship between themselves that was very unique, both with a passion for Australia, for the Outback, and for doing things that were innovative and that could take Australia to another level. We have to be commercial, and we have to meet the marketplace in certain ways, but to keep Australian manufacturing to the extent we have, where we've grown our manufacturing base over the last 9 years. In fact, we employ over 600 people in the business today, and our manufacturing plant is 5 to 6 days a week, and we're flat out. Now, we support that with imports, but that's because there's certain products here that are very challenging to make at a price the consumer wants, made to our standard in factories that we inspect. That sort of balance is really the sort of change that we needed to undertake to keep the business on top. In terms of the future of the business, I know every time that I meet with Ken, he just looks me in the eye and says, so what's the next big idea? Let's go for it.
Looking at your agricultural business, you are responsible for Australia's first carbon farming pilot project. What are the details here?
Yeah, well, Henbury Station is a property that, with the government's support and an indication to us that they wanted to undertake a carbon farming initiative. Within R.M. Williams Agricultural Holdings, which is a different entity and has different shareholders to the Boot and Clothing Company, we've actually been very fortunate in working with government to create the first of the carbon farming initiatives of this type and scale. In doing that, it is a project which is a learning by doing project. Fortunately, in the business we have some of the most accomplished people in terms of the carbon market in the world. It's going to be something that we'd like to share then with the rest of the agricultural industries. We see this as complementary to every agricultural operator in Australia, is the ability to utilise their landmass in an effective way that is not only environmentally responsible, but in fact creates the opportunity for additional revenues in their particular businesses. And, you know, there isn't an agricultural operator that I've seen that doesn't have a huge respect and in fact looks after the environment in their best way possible on their properties.
And what do you see as the future of Australian agriculture?
It's really, in our view, very exciting. You know, the world is going to demand protein, particularly the Asian nations, those going across into the Arab states. And in this country, we have the ability to deliver. When you start to see Australian agriculture as what we've been supplying ourselves with over so many years, and what the opportunity for the future of that is, you know, it really is the next generation and the generation after, that if we set up agriculture right in Australia today, the prosperity is going to be tenfold. Our greatest challenge is labour, making sure that we have a labour force within the agricultural community to do that. It would be nice to think that the current government and future federal governments will start to see the opportunity for finishing those agricultural products here in Australia, so that in terms of our exports, we can actually take finished product here in Australia right throughout the world. Of recent times, there was a lot of dismay and discussion and disappointment, obviously, with the live export to Indonesia of cattle. The comment has been made that perhaps that hurt or put a shadow over the Australian agricultural industries. I disagree in total. Agriculture in Australia is paramount in our services and our standards. We're one of the best operators in the world. There isn't an Australian agricultural operator that would have in any way, shape or form supported the treatment of livestock as it was seen. So is the opportunity for us to start finishing product in this country and exporting it so that we know it's been finished in the correct way? Yes, it is. And hopefully we'll see, with agriculture starting to grow, the support of that, not only through private enterprise but through government, will be that those industries for finishing agricultural product and then exporting it to the world grow. That means more jobs, it means more prosperity, and it means that our industries have a strong future.
As the bigwigs at Kraft like to tell us, Vegemite is an iconic Australian brand.